Welcome to Unit 2, Lab 3, page 3, Solving a Word Puzzle. On this page, we're going to build a crossword puzzle solver using predicates, the AND block, and the keep block. You may not have realized it, but you now have the skills to solve this on your own. When you're programming, don't look at a problem as one huge challenge or obstacle. Instead, try and think of how you can break down or decompose the problem into smaller chunks. Then build upon each chunk little by little and iterate on what you have, and before you know it, you will have solved the larger problem and overcome the challenge. The reason I'm mentioning this is because it's really easy to get overwhelmed or to give up when things get tough. So just take a step back, plan out a strategy for yourself, and then execute. I've already gone ahead and opened the project, but now I have to run import words list to initialize the variable words list to a list with all of the words. So when I click on that command, it creates this words list with 2655 items. In number 2, it says that we've used the length of block in the operators palette together with equals and keep to find words of a certain length in the words list. And we did that in the last video. And in part A, it asks us to reassemble the script so that we can find all of the words that have 8 letters. So to do that, I'm going to use the length of equals predicate inside of keep items so that we can keep items such that the length of whatever word shows up equals 8 from words list. And when I run this, it's going to go through all of the words in words list and pick out all of the words that have 8 letters. In part B, we have to find all of the words that have 11 letters, so all I have to do is change this one value right here in the predicate to 11. And it tells us that there's 94 words in words list that have 11 letters. Part C says that we now have an expression that we can edit to test any word for any number of letters. I could already see how all I had to change was the number 8 or 11 in the predicate to look for certain words with certain characteristics. So I can already start thinking of the block that I could make with an input that will allow me to find words of certain lengths. In the example shown, it says, does orange have 6 letters? And then it says, does apple have 7 letters? So I'm going to make those predicates. I'm going to right click in the scripting area and click make a block. And this is going to go into the operators palette, and it's a predicate. And I'm going to start coding this up. Does word have number letters? And I put percentage signs in front of word and number because those are going to become parameters when I hit OK. There we go. Those are going to be my inputs. And now I have to think about how this will work inside. So what we have to do is we have to use word from the input and count how many letters there are and see if that matches the number parameter inputted. And if it does, we're going to return true. If it doesn't, we'll return false. So I think I could use the same predicate from before. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check the length of word and see if it has number letters. And I'm going to actually go one step further and tell my block that word should be text and that number should be a number. And so I'm giving it a type here so that Snap knows what to expect. When I hit apply, the shape of the inputs actually changed. You can see that this first input for word is almost like a rectangle, and the shape for the number of letters is kind of rounded. Now I could bring in an if-else conditional statement, but I'm actually going to use a shortcut and realize that this will report back true or false by itself. I went over this shortcut in my last video, but if you think about it, I'm putting a predicate inside of a predicate. So this predicate that I put inside is going to report true or false itself. So I don't really need to use an if-else statement to kind of report back true or report back false separately. Now this is a shortcut, so it might not be as readable to someone who doesn't know the code. Great, now I can test out my block. I'm going to hit apply, hit OK, and let's try it out. Does orange have 6 letters? And it responds true. Does apple have 7 letters? And it responds or reports false. Perfect. What if I leave it blank? Does blank have 2 letters? False. Does blank have 0 letters? True. Great. Let's try a 1-letter word. Does A have 0 letters? False. Does A have 1 letter? Actually, it just says letters, but it should say letter, but that's fine, whatever. And it seems to be working correctly. Now in number 3, we have to build an expression using the letter of block with the equals and keep to find words that have certain letters in certain places. Because when you think about a crossword puzzle, you see letters all over the place, and you have to kind of think what words have A as the third letter, for example, or what words end in R. And that's usually how you figure out crossword puzzles. So what we want to do is create a block that will allow us to find all the words that begin with the letter I. And we're going to use our keep items block, and we're going to use an equals block, a predicate block. So let me bring in the equals, and let's try to think this through. We want to use the letter of block, and let's see. We want to see if the letter blank of the word equals a certain letter. So for example, in this case, it's I. So we want to see if the first letter of the word equals I from words list. And let's see how many words start with I. When I click on it, it says 108 items. And as I go through it, I can see that all of these are words that start with I. In part B, we want to find all of the words whose fourth letter is R. And to do that, I'm going to change I to R. And from letter 1, I'm going to change that to letter 4. So you can see that I made 2 changes, and this block stays empty because that's where it's going to take every item from words list and place it inside to check the predicate. When I click on this, all of these words have the letter R in the 4th place, and there's 177 of them. In part C, it says that if we haven't turned our expression into a predicate block, we should do that now. And the block should work like this. Is letter 4 of carrot the letter O? So we have to create this predicate. Let me right click, make a block. It's going to be in the operators palette. It's going to be a predicate. And is letter, and then let's take in the letter as an input, doing percentage letter of carrot, or the word, percent word, the letter, and then we have another letter. So let me actually clear this up because this is going to be a little confusing. Is letter, I shouldn't use letter for the first input because it's going to be a number. So that's my mistake. So is letter number of word the letter? And that might look a little tricky, but it's just a shortcut for me to create this block. Okay, let me put a question mark at the end as title text, so I don't make the mistake from a couple videos ago. And number is going to be a number, so I'm choosing my types here just to be a little bit more explicit. Word is going to be text, and a letter is going to be text also. I don't think they have one for character, do they? No. So it's going to be also text. I could actually bring my block into the scripting area. And now I pretty much just have to take the predicate that I just created. I'm going to duplicate it and throw it in report. And instead of putting the number there, I'm going to bring in the input, the parameter number, into there. So is letter number of word. So I'm going to take the word and put it inside here. And I want to check it against this letter from the input. I'm going to hit apply. I'm going to test it out. Is the letter 4 of carrot the letter O? And when I click on it, it says false. So that seems right. The letter O would be the 5th letter. So let's try that out. Then it reports back true. Let's try the next one. Is letter 2 of giraffe I? And when I click on it, it says true. So that's perfect. It seems to be working correctly. Now in number 4, it says to work with another pair. So you guys should combine your brain power if you're working with a group, or pay attention carefully because this is going to get a little tricky. With the predicates we've just created, along with and keep, so let me bring in and because I haven't used that yet. Actually, it's already here. I have and right there to solve the word puzzle. So I want to keep items. Let me remove this from there. I want to keep items that meet both of these characteristics. Let me just close out the block editor. And I want to keep the items that have a specific number of letters. And I can test to see that specific letters are in specific places for those words. So I'm going to leave the word blank, and then I can check what letter it is and the place. This is a little tricky. We're going to need another and here. So for example, I think we can guess what it is, but it's definitely inside of words list, and I'm going to try to find it using my block. So does the word, and I'm going to leave this blank, have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 letters? So that's the first thing it has to check for. Next, I already know letters 1, 3, 4, and 6. So I want to check to see if letter 1 is V. And let me make another copy of this. And I want to check to see if letter 3 of the word is R. And actually, I could put more ands in here and see if letter 4 is I. But let's see if this works. So as it goes through the keep block, as it goes through all the words in word list, is going to put the word inside of these blank inputs, and it's going to check to see if it has 8 letters, if the first letter is letter V, and if the third letter is R, and it's going to go through all of the words list and see if there's any words that meet these qualifications, that have these characteristics. And so when I click on it, it reports back variable. So you guys can take this information, take this block we just created, and if you click on the actual crossword puzzle, you can go through it and start filling out the words, or you can guess, but you're better off trying to make the block and learning how to do it. Make sure you save your work, and if you're up for a challenge, try to take it further. See you on page 4.